Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You join me in Portland, Oregon at the raceway for Formula E, one of the only stops, actually the only stop in the US this year for the 2023 season. In this video, I came over just for a few hours. I literally just flew in and I'm about to fly out to see how they charge these Formula E vehicles. You guys know we do a lot of work with ABB. We review their chargers, we show them when they're good and when they're bad, and at this event they seem to be freaking awesome. And what I want to do is show you their proprietary Formula E DC fast charger to charge up these race vehicles. So in this video, we're going to get into the battery pack specs, the charging times, what the teams are doing to charge these things, everything you need to know about charging a Formula E vehicle. And of course, I'll share my thoughts on the current status of the race series, what might come into the future, and where I think perhaps racing should go for electric vehicles. You join me just outside of the pits here at Portland International Raceway, and I'm over here outside of the pits because we were just kicked out of the pits. I thought we had all the right credentials, all the right stuff lined up, but apparently not. We're not allowed to go in and see the cars and take a look at them charging. So this might be a quicker video than expected, but I hope I can at least bring some information to you. Formula E, of course, are these cars right here. They're slightly dismantled right now just to be prepped. They just finished qualifying. They're getting ready for their full race. And I don't really want to make this about the racing series so much. It's more about charging electric cars in a race environment. And first off, we have to talk about the topic of racing electric vehicles. It seems kind of interesting. We've done a lot of track tests with EVs. This is sort of next level. And we're now in the, I don't know, 8th season, 7th season, something like that of Formula E. It's been running for a long time, and it's really struggled to gain popularity in America, truly. Very few people that I know that are hardcore into EVs are also into Formula E. Now in Europe, it seems to have a much larger appeal, but in our market, yeah, definitely more, I would say, of a brand immersion situation than it is actual fans coming here to look at the racing. At least that's from what I can tell so far. Also, if you want to think about the sustainability of electric racing, right, they're using, electric cars, that we're not burning any fuel. The whole thing's on a cleaner tomorrow. I just have to point out this over here. They came over to the US for this race, Formula E, the whole series, shipping everything over, just a race for one day in Portland. And you can see all of the air freight items right here. Now, I'm not here to promote say anything that I have a good carbon footprint or anything like that. I'm always traveling. I'm on a plane every day. I just want to say the messaging of let's go all over the world to race electric vehicles and then charge them off of a generator somewhere. It does have a battery pack, which is cool, but off of a combustion generator, doesn't seem great. Now, that was on a unit that I'll show you in a second that was running off of a generator. These vehicles may be hooked directly into the grid is what I'm looking at and charging up ahead of the race. What I want to do is show you the actual charging equipment. Before we do that, let's find a car we can look at pretty closely. So let's run down over this way. You can see this is the Porsche booth. We were just talking to some of the Porsche guys before we were dragged out of the pits. And you can see they are leading this year. They're sort of leading the entire series up to this point. There's only a few races left in the series, and they're absolutely killing it. So they have a long, I want to say 10-meter charging cable that's charging up their vehicles. They run on an 800-volt system architecture, and that's what's happening right now. They are getting juice as they're parked in there, getting tweaks, offloading data, adjusting pressures, putting fresh set of tires on for the race, and that's what's happening here in the pits, so which is pretty cool. Let's run down this way, because this way is actually, ABB has set aside a booth, which is really awesome, so we can take a look at the actual charger that's in the booth. Now, on the way, I'll kind of explain it because we don't have much time to film this video. You guys know we've charged on the ABB Terra 184 before. This is their all-in-one 180 kilowatt charging station. They used to offer it, my understanding, in two different variations, a 200 amp cable version and a 400 amp high output cable version. The problem with the 184 and the 200 amp configuration was that you would only get 80 kilowatts from the charger. The actual charging unit could do 160 kilowatts if you had, or 180 kilowatts if you had a higher voltage car, if you plug two cars in. But in the public, when you see a 180 kilowatt branded charger, you expect to get that when you actually plug in. And so I think some of our videos, it sounds like, talking to the folks at ABB, it sounds like our video really pushed them to really only offer the 400 amp high output version, so you can get very close to 180 kilowatts. Now, what's interesting is these Formula E cars run at about 800 volts nominal, so somewhere in the 700s dead, maybe even slightly lower, up to 850, maybe even a little bit more when they're full. They are only running the 200 amp cables here because that's what they need to get to roughly 160 kilowatts. And these are branded at 160 kilowatts because that works in play with the voltage level of the Formula E vehicles. So take a look in here, and basically what you're looking at now is a ABB Terra 184 in a box. And so this essentially is a custom mobile charger for the Formula E Racing Series, of which ABB is a huge title sponsor of, sponsoring the entire series around. And it just looks awesome. I mean, in terms of mobile stuff, it's small, it's definitely heavy for sure. They're running CCS2 cables on these things, air-cooled. These are the Harding cables. Let's take a look. It's actually branded as an ABB cable, okay, made in Germany, 200 amp up to 1000 volt. So because this is a bespoke solution for the Formula E cars, they can actually run a lower amperage cable, save a lot of cost and weight, even though this has got to be 90 pounds worth of cable. We were just hanging out with my friend Corey from Monroe Live, and he picked this up, and he estimated that this cable spool right here weighed about 90 pounds plus or minus. So that is a serious juicy cable.
Resident fitness expert. Probably 90 pounds. Well, maybe 80. I can throw 250.
But again, when you run it up over the gantry where the cars are parked and charging, it makes a lot of sense. Looking here at the unit, you can see it looks typical ABB software. You have your 2 ports that you can choose from. It's 180 kilowatt single port, or I don't know, it's not 90 out, is it? It's technically 160 kilowatt output and then 80 kilowatt split. So maybe they just put this 180 there from the 184, but technically it's branded as a 160 kilowatt charger. And again, it can charge 1 vehicle at one time and 2 separately. The interesting thing with the Formula E cars is they take roughly 45 minutes to go 0 to full, is what some people have said. And then we've heard other stories from the Porsche race team that say their charging time's only about 15 minutes. And so it's hard to know exactly the curve, how long they can hold peak power for. We're just not sure because the information seems to be a little bit all over the place. 38.5 kilowatt hour battery pack on the units, actually, on the actual race cars. That's the gross capacity, usable roughly 95%, so they are letting you use most of the battery pack, which is great.
So the data and information on the Formula E cars was just crazy to try and get a hold of. No one knew anything about the cars or anything, and I thought going to Formula E would be worth going to get information about the series, but truly, the Porsche guys said, 38.5 kilowatt hours, gross capacity, 95% usable. Then I asked some ABB folks, and they're like, oh, they're actually mid 50 kilowatt hour battery packs. And I'm like, I thought that was last year's car. And so then there was like a rumor that maybe they adjust the usable capacity based on the track, which I'm pretty sure they're not doing. And so to me, I might seem a little bit frustrated in this video because I literally flew there to try and get you the most nerdy possible information ever, and we couldn't show the chargers charging a car. We couldn't show you how ABB software load managed the entire situation because that's what I thought we were going to film, which was all of the cool ABB charging tech. And then, of course, I wanted to learn about the cars and learn about the Gen 3 and why they're now, doing so much more regen, and we'll talk about it towards the end of this video. But could not find anyone who understood anything technical at this entire event. So I hate to be so negative in this particular one. I hope to get more info. If any of you are watching and know Formula E, and maybe we'll join you at a race, but you gotta have all the tech info for us because we can't just go and say, look at this cool car driving around a track. we actually can't even film the cars driving around the track. This was interesting because there's an exclusive media outlet that gets access to film the cars moving. So I'm not able to show you any car in motion in this video. How crazy is that? Anyway, sorry again to be so negative in this particular one. Let's pick it up, but just take all the information I'm giving you with sort of a grain of salt on the cars, because the only thing that's published are the drivetrain specifications, which we do get into. But you actually join us at Pikes Peak right now, and you know, the Rivian, the Tesla, and the Ford Supervan are running up the hill, and you can see here goes a GT4 Club Sport of some kind, absolutely shredding it. And yeah, flew in straight from Formula E to come attend this here at Pikes Peak, and I'm just editing the video to get it up on Starlink for you. So again, really sorry for the, I would say, very bad informational video. Next time, I promise I will make sure I go with people who understand all of the technical stuff. Let's get back to the tour.
And again, the battery only needs to last one weekend, so who cares if you, you know, destroy it. But anyway, these look pretty cool. You have disconnects for your cables over here on the back side. You can see you have a hookup on the rear of the unit, so you can plug it into your generator or whatever power source. Really, you can plug it into a battery pack, into, let's go see if we can find the generator powering these here actually. And then of course there are grid connections at most racetracks as well. So I can hear over here a big combustion something running along. And then let's see, I think these are all the generators right here. So again, Formula E, sustainability. Ryan, what do you think?
You know, I think that there are some changes they could make to improve on that aspect.
Okay, maybe I'm just like, I don't know, it just seems kind of funny.
I'm being gentle.
Yeah, you're being very, you're balancing out my like, okay, stop saying that this is sustainable racing when we're literally burning fuels, flying stuff all over the planet. Not that I'm ever like Mr. Green, I just don't like it when people try and mask things as green and companies mask things as green when they're actually not. Really cool to see all of the power here. Unfortunately, that's about all we can show you in this video. The real cool story was ABB partnered with Formula E to create a charging solution fit for the Formula E cars. The Formula E cars, let's go back this way so we can talk a little bit more about them, actually have a much smaller battery pack in them than years prior. Early on, you would have to switch cars. You would go from, you know, one vehicle halfway through a race, jump into the other one and keep going because battery technology just wasn't there to power them a whole race. Then, I believe last season they were running the Gen 2 car, which was a 54 kilowatt hour battery pack, something like that, and that could get them through the whole race. And they were only recapturing about 20% of the energy in terms of recuperation and regen. Now they have up to 600 kilowatt regen, super juicy. And it's 350 kilowatts of regen on the rear motor, 250 kilowatts of regen on the front motor, again equaling 600 kilowatt total. You would think you would want more on the front, but maybe there's a dynamic situation with the downforce on the rear of the car from high speed where you can do more rear. Unfortunately, there's just not many opportunities to learn about these things because everyone's here prepping for race day. So perhaps we need to come meet with a Formula E team outside of a race where we can really get more info that from what we're looking for you guys, because I always want to bring you the nerdiest coverage, and we were kind of just dropped here and there's not much we could say other than what we've learned from just kind of, I don't know, rumors flying around this whole place. Overall, the cars seem absolutely epic. The speeds are much higher. The power outputs are much higher. Again, they're running 350 kilowatt during practice or qualifying, but 300 kilowatt during the race is my understanding. So they do run slightly derated during the race. You are basically managing your power throughout the whole race. They are going from, you know, 100% state of charge down to basically whoever can manage their power closest to zero without running out will win, essentially, because you can't just go flat out the whole time. You'll toast your battery. What I think would be really interesting, and let's talk about the future of electric racing now, which I think would be really cool, is, and it may not be so sexy for TV, but it'd be kind of cool from a competitive standpoint, is to allow a mid-race charging session as an option. Extend the overall length of the race, and you would basically have to choose, do you drive flat out and then do a quick top-up, or multiple quick top-ups, or do you go slow and do deep charges? And a lot of that would depend on how you tune the charging curve of the battery and what you allow your thermal limitations to be. From some of the rumors that we can hear floating around, it's almost like the charging performance of the car is actually set up by the team. So they may choose to do a slower charge ahead of the race on the battery pack to keep it cooler. But again, a lot of these things are hard to know without really getting in there and talking to them. So here's what I'd like to see from future electric racing series. I'd like to see whatever electric application comes down the line, that it has some relative engineering work to come down and trickle down into a production car. I don't really get the vibe that any of the work being done here, any of the racing being done here, actually trickles down into any production cars. It almost feels like most of the companies, tire companies, car companies that are sponsoring this event are doing it for their sustainability or image goals more than actual engineering work, which is like Formula One. You get a lot of trickle down from Formula One tech into vehicles, mild hybrid, electric boosting on turbochargers as an example. So I hope to see more automakers take some kind of electrification in racing seriously. I hope to see charging as a part of racing and thermal management and just your driving style in relation to charging. And overall, I think electric racing has its place. For me personally, I have to say Formula E has not captured my attention or really interest in any way. I came here just to see the charger. Now Ryan's here for a couple days, so I'm gonna flip the mic over, get his impression. So let me pull this off. You can hand me the camera. I'll flip this on you. And Ryan, really curious what you think about Formula E and your impression on all of this and what it means for the industry.
Absolutely. So I'm a big Formula One fan. I haven't gotten into Formula E yet. Speaking to your point about its popularity here, I do think it's a bit of a missed opportunity. I think there's a lot of things they could potentially do to improve the popularity, but I do agree with you. I think that it's really critical for this to have some sort of real world application, something that this translates to. And it's not super clear exactly what that is from here. Furthermore, something we've talked about a little bit is it seems like Formula One will be heading towards electrification. So it'll be interesting to see how Formula E and Formula One will be working out in that kind of a scenario. But I think that this does have a lot of interesting stuff, and there's a lot of really cool technology. The fast charging, the batteries, all that stuff I think is really cool. I would just like to see how that's going to be applied elsewhere.
Great, thanks Ryan. I'll steal the mic back. We'll switch back. Always good to get your opinions on here. Sorry for the super low budget production on this particular run. I just know as soon as we exit this gate, we'll never be able to come back in here because I don't think our passes work on this side of the event, sadly. But let's run back through and I'll just share very quick final thoughts, which is it's great to be here. It's great to see some excitement around electrification. I would say it almost seems 5-to-1 in terms of actual race employees or companies that have brought people versus fans, which I think is a bit of a shame, and that ratio needs to change quickly for this to, I would say retain popularity. There seems to be very little transparency about the tech details, and a lot of that is also down to just the teams wanting to hold on to their secrets, but makes it a little bit hard for us to cover some of these things. So anyway, thanks for watching another Out of Spec Reviews video. Hope to see you all on another one soon, and we're gonna go watch some Formula E racing. Hope you guys have caught it after, this video comes up after the race, so we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know who's gonna win or what's gonna go, but it should be pretty interesting. And can't thank you guys enough for watching. Can't thank ABB enough for showing us around their charger and giving us access to take a look at it over here. The charging unit seems to be the coolest part about this whole race to me, which is just a Terra 184 on wheels that you can of course just hook up to any 3-phase connection that's powerful enough to run that charger. So that's all good. Send us one for a review, ABB, please. We could use it badly. We really could use it. So send us one if you're watching this video, and thank you guys for watching. See you in another one soon. Bye-bye.